comedian Jim Norton with his childhood hero Ozzy Osbourne. This is a special presentation of Jim Norton Obsessed on the Boneyard.
See, I fucking fooled you. I said I was only going to play You Can't Kill Rock and Roll, and just to be a good egg, I threw in Steal Away the Night. Another really underrated, underplayed Ozzy song. That was off Blizzard of Oz and Diver Madman, of course, which are both going to be reissued, I think, in October. I unfortunately don't have the reissued versions now. We'll play a little bit more of that later. We're going to go right back to the interview now that I did with Ozzy a couple of weeks ago. The amazing thing, too, is all the music trends that came after that, with, like the hair metal and grunge, and you survived all of them, and you stayed relevant through all of them.
You know what? When I was doing the Ozfest, and some of the other younger bands had come to me, your Black Sabbath was the greatest thing that ever happened to the planet and all this. For a long time, I thought, are they winding me up? Are they for real or what? And then, and when I had Metallica opening up for me in the 80s, they used to play Black Sabbath music coming from their dressing room. I said to my assistant Tony, "Is that a joke?" And he goes, "No, when you're on the inside looking out, it's a different thing. You just do it naturally, you know. So, and you hope that, you know, I mean, back 40 years ago when we did the first Black Sabbath album, I would never have gone like in 40 years from now they're going to be playing this as a milestone. But you know, I just move on. You know, you're as good as your last hit."
Well, Metallica and you guys both in the Rock and Roll Hall now. And I know it doesn't mean everything, but it is a recognition that should be given to metal. Yeah. And do you think that's going to open the door a little bit and help other metal bands get in?
I hope so, because, I mean, ever since I started, people have been going, periodically going, like, I bet you were happy with the resurge of heavy metal. It's never gone anywhere. You know, there's no resurge. It's been always there.
Yeah, there's been little different variations and branches.
I mean, 70s, 80s, 90s, now the new millennium, it's not different, but it's like kids that want to express themselves loudly, you know.
Are you amazed with how many bands credit you? It's not just Metallica, but you ask any band, and they say that Sabbath had something to do, or Ozzy as a solo artist had something to do with where they are.
But it's like everybody has to have something to. I mean, when I first heard the Beatles, now the Beatles compared to Ozzy Osbourne, it's like worlds apart. But then they always had great melodies, and it was just a magic they had. I suppose as that magic kind of. The same for these kids, you know, I hope.
Now, you were able to, the funny thing is, too, it's meeting you, for me, was like the way you felt when you met
Paul McCartney.
Yeah. How long into your career before you actually were able to say, I'm here because of you?
Well, I got on a plane. I was going back to England a long while ago now, and I got to the Kennedy Airport, and I'd just seen McCartney and Wings playing at in Los Angeles. When his wife, when Linda was still alive, and I got to the airport, and this guy comes up to me. He says, "What? You flying?" This kid was outside the airport with one of the Beatles album sleeves, and he goes, "You're flying with one of your heroes?" And I go, "Who's that?" He goes, "Wings and Paul McCartney." I'm like, "You're winding me up," and he says, "No." So I went in and I saw McCartney got on the same plane, and when I got to London Heathrow Airport, one of his bands I was declaring something to the customs. And one of his bands came on. He said, "Oh, you know," I says, "I went to see you guys at LA Forum." And I went, "Oh, wow." Then I never that was the first time I was ever in close proximity to him. I was like, "Whoa!"
But you didn't speak to him.
No. Then I was doing an album in LA, Down to Earth album, and my Pro Tool guy was doing him, and I said, "I asked him to play bass." You know, he said, "Oh, well," and he declined on it for whatever reason. And then I was doing that Howard Stern show, and it's a very early call for me, you know. So my slot was 8:30. That's not so bad. But my assistant Tony comes in. And he goes, "So would you be willing to exchange your spot for someone else?" I says, "No way. I'm going mine at 8:30. That's what they do." He goes, "Well, let me tell you," I says, I don't care who it is. I'm not changing. He says, "Well, let me tell you." I says, "No." He goes, "It's Paul McCartney." I go, "It's done."
So you switched spots with him?
Yeah, and then I met him for the first time, and he's a lovely guy, man. He's speakers of I mean, he's probably heard rumours about me and things, you know, but he's a sweet man. Hey, and then my son came up to me recently, and he goes, "Dad," he says, "if I'm doing this documentary, Wreckage of My Past, about you and your life, is there anybody you would like me to interview?" I says, No, I said, you've got it. It's up to you, it's your project. I said, whatever you... He said, well, what would you do if you say I was going to ask Paul McCartney to, if he was going to... would be interested in it? He wouldn't do that. I said, well, he's got too much things to do. He goes, well, I'll tell you what, I have, and he has. And I'm like, what? And I've yet to see the video.
But he got Paul.
Yeah.
It's got to be a nice feeling. Again, this band you idolize, and then he knows who you are, and I'm sure he respects you. And to meet him almost as an equal or as a peer has got to be a nice.
Then I met him at a party in London. He came and sat by me. I'm sitting down at this Elton John tour or something. I'm sitting down there, and I look next to me, and it's like Sir Paul McCartney label by the. I'm like, and he came and sat by me, or he'd been chatting to me. Great man. Great guy. I mean, as speak as I find, he's always been nothing but a gentleman to me.
And you played with him. There was, I don't know what...
The Royal Command thing.
Which was the Queen of England was part of that. And again, was it an odd to have grown up in England and the Queen being who she is?
I mean, when I met the Queen, she looks at me and she said, yeah, so this is what they call variety, is it? I'm like, wow.
But she knew you, and obviously...
But Prince William came up to me, he says, you should have sang Black Sabbath. I'm like, what? I didn't realise they'd know none of the songs.
All right, we're going to jump out here. And this is Jim Norton. You're listening to a special edition of Jim Norton Obsessed on the Boneyard. It's my interview with Ozzy from a couple weeks ago. We're playing it, and I'm just kind of jumping out and playing songs. We've been playing a lot of the new stuff off the album Scream. But, since, again, this is satellite, and you're not a whore to any playlist, this is the fucking great part about doing this station. I want to play a little bit of Old Sabbath now, because I know a lot of you are Old Sabbath fans. I certainly am. So we'll go back to the interview in a little bit, but since Ozzy mentioned Sabbath with one of the princes saying he should have played Black Sabbath, well, fuck it. We're going to play Electric Funeral.